Hello, dear friends. A nation is not lost because it is attacked, but because those who love it fail to defend it. Blas de Lezo y Olavarrieta. Opinion piece. Where is the revaluation? Asset-backed currencies. The storm is intensifying. Lionsgate and solar eclipse. Rebirth between ruin and hope. Awakening to freedom and light. Recovery of national sovereignty. Dismantling the financial machinery. Spiritual battle beyond politics and economy. Without free elections, there is no sovereign currency. Let's start. The recovery of national sovereignty through free and transparent elections is the prerequisite for issuing new currencies backed by real assets, in response to the recurring question of when this process will occur. In the long run, the currency of the future will not be money, but people and their character, valuing reputation, integrity, and the vibrational frequency of individuals above economic resources. Currency revaluation, global geopolitical shifts, and the transition to an asset-backed monetary system are the central themes of the analysis offered by Holly Celiano and Will Barney, who argue that such revelation cannot be achieved until countries regain their sovereignty through free and fair elections. Barney maintained that for over a century, the establishment has controlled the global financial system through fiat currencies or money not backed by tangible assets, and that currency revaluation requires, as a prerequisite, the issuance of new currencies by sovereign governments. According to Barney, no official procedures or concrete figures have been communicated regarding the conversion rates between the old fiat currencies and the new asset-backed currencies. So, he cautioned against speculation circulating online about supposed exchange rates. Barney cited that the dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power since 1971, the year President Nixon abandoned the gold standard. He compared this depreciation to more extreme cases like Venezuela and Zimbabwe, arguing that this systemic deterioration explains why a growing number of people are seeking alternatives to the current fiat system. The analyst directly links monetary reform to electoral integrity. He asserts that half the world's population has seen their government stolen through fraudulent elections, and that without free and fair elections, no country can issue a sovereign currency backed by its own assets of land, gold, silver, or oil. Regarding the European situation, Barney denounced that what he called an orchestrated invasion in Spain, where he described Moroccan police forced military-aged men to swim across the Ceuta border to exploit a Spanish law that allows asylum applications only to those who swim across, but not to those who arrive by boat. On the technological front, Barney mentioned statements by SEC Chairman Paul Atkins, indicating that the stock market would operate on the blockchain within 18 to 24 months, enabling instant settlements and transactions. He argues that this will transform how people manage their investments and could accelerate the end of poverty in combination with artificial intelligence. Barney recommends not relying on a leader or event as a saver, maintaining emotional maturity, turning off screens, reconnecting with nature, and focusing on the present as a way to stay grounded during an intensifying storm. He points out that abundance has always existed and that the problem lies in the imposed system of scarcity. Disassembly or dismantling. They are dismantling London's post-1971 money-making machine, according to Eliza Arias. Chancellor Besant has called for a return to the Bretton Woods system to make the banking system more efficient, and measures are already being implemented. The situation bears similarities to the 2019 market crisis, when a lack of liquidity brought the banking sector to the brink of collapse following the health crisis. Central banks around the world are being gold en masse, with China accumulating purchases for 20 consecutive months and Korea restarting gold purchases for the first time since 2013. Eliza Arias argues that the Middle East war and the Japanese bailout are part of the same project to dismantle London's post-1971 financial machinery, with the transition completed after King Charles III visit. Energy form. Humanity is less than a day away from the peak of the Lion's Gate portal, and less than a week from the next solar eclipse. And how each individual experiences reality depends on their belief system, physical condition, energy alignment, frequency, and amount of life force energy, because these factors determine the timelines and realities they attract, according to an energy report by Drew 86. The author maintains that those who hold elevated belief systems operate at a high frequency and possess a healthy body with a powerful auric field and full life force energy are automatically drawn to higher bifurcated timelines and realities. Conversely, those who adopt pessimistic attitudes experience misfortune. Drew 86 described the corporate matrix as a quantum simulation presented as the only reality, comparing it to the film The Truman Show, in which the protagonist believed his wealth was real, when in fact it was an invention. According to the author, fiat money has been the primary instrument of public order in this artificial matrix, and true reality is not governed by its rules unless the individual chooses to submit to them. The report posits that all the rules cease to apply if the individual decides not to participate in the matrix and begins to live as a sovereign human being under natural common law. In this scenario, abundance no longer depends exclusively on corporate employment, business, or fiat money, and the true currency becomes energy, which physically manifests as abundance. The author describes how those who remain within the matrix are experiencing the most turbulent and even violent storm, while those situated in higher timelines experience that same storm from the eye of the hurricane. Some even experience paradise on the new earth. In conclusion, Drew 86 points out that everyone is caught up in this process and compares it to a train or roller coaster that has already departed, stating that each individual's life is the sum of their decisions, magnetized and anchored to their resonant frequency. The author describes this process as a storm of evolution currently sweeping through humanity. Spiritual battle. Evil is deeply rooted on earth. Beyond politics, legislation, and economics lies a deeper struggle, a spiritual battle. Citizens are realizing that political solutions alone cannot resolve a spiritual crisis. Amid social polarization, faith-based initiatives are generating renewed hope. Max Penn argues that contact with highly conscious people can provoke two reactions: accepting the reflections they offer and growing from it, or rejecting it, distancing oneself and projecting one's own conflicts onto them. He presents this idea as a dynamic of inner confrontation and suggests that the response or the answer depends on each individual. These people don't seek to threaten or impose anything, but rather to show hidden aspects of the other person like a mirror. The text adds that if someone feels defensive around them, it's advisable to stop and ask themselves what they are seeing in themselves that they are not yet ready to confront. Sensitivity. Laura Aboli suggests that sensitivity can be perceived as a disadvantage because it exposes a person more to external stimuli, although at the same time it connects them to greater inner strength. She attributes to this sensitivity the ability to emphasize, anticipate situations, and detect intentions or falsehoods in others. She maintains to concern that concern for others is the driving force behind indignation, action, and the pursuit of justice, and links this disposition to sensitivity. According to the text, sensitive people are more involved in correcting injustices because they care enough to act. Ultimately, she affirms that sensitivity is not a weakness, but a gift, although she acknowledges that it can intensify suffering in the face of rejection, lack of love, or the pain of others. In return, she emphasizes that it also amplifies joy, satisfaction with justice, and connection with beauty and the divine. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.